now tuned in to Rolling with Rock podcast.
Mila on the track. Vibe check, baby.
Yellow Pages on the track.
Shout out Yellow Pages.
Is this thing even on?
Shout out Makai. Yeah, baby. We on.
Yo,
We about to scoop.
Yeah.
Hottest new podcast on the airwaves.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Roll on Rock podcast.
Yes,
y'all.
sir. Welcome to the show, y'all. I hope y'all enjoy the show.
I really do.
Yes, sir. I'm finna enjoy it. Show is.
Yeah, indeed. Let go.
Yes, sir.
Yo, welcome back. Welcome to the next episode of Rolling with Rock podcast. It's me, your boy Rock, and I just got back from London. I know the last time we spoke, I told you guys I was about to take a trip to London, wanted to see a football game. I had to go out there and see Jacksonville versus Miami, the Dolphins. And although I'm not a Jacksonville fan and I'm not a Miami fan, I love football. And being all the way over here in Saudi Arabia, the closest thing I can get to football is London, because I couldn't. I'm not going to go all the way back home to make it to London, but you guys got to excuse me. It's allergy season, so no, I ain't got no COVID, but my throat's been a little weird lately. So I know a lot of people out there have allergies and sinuses and everything else, and as soon as you cough, sneeze, or do anything of that nature, people looking at you like you crazy, like you got some type of sickness or you got something wrong with you. But damn, allergies still exist, okay? Just because COVID done came and fucked everything up don't mean that people can't get, sneezes and coughs anymore. But y'all got to excuse me if I'm clearing my throat every once in a while because of that. But the trip to London was pretty good. It was a very successful trip. First off, I want to explain getting out of London, getting out to London from Riyadh. So the very first thing we did whenever we were leaving to go to London, was we had to hit up the airport in Riyadh. Going from the Riyadh airport, of course, with COVID playing its part in our everyday life now, we have to get what's called a PCR test. What a PCR test is a PCR test is just a COVID test that you have to take within 2 days of traveling with a visa. So anywhere you go in any of the countries, anywhere in the world, they require for you to get a PCR test done 2 days prior to your departure. So you got to spend stupid money again to prove to people that you're not sick, even though you're not sick. And then you also have to prove to them that you're vaccinated. And if you're not vaccinated, then you got to do a quarantine once you get to wherever it is you're going. It's just a big ass mess. So, because I'm vaccinated and because I got the PCR test, it's supposed to have been an easy process for us to get out of Riyadh and into London. But it took us 45 minutes to an hour at the baggage counter, because when we got there, we were told, hey, you guys are supposed to register your COVID card on London's website. So when you get to London, they can see that you are vaccinated or not. And to me, that's kind of fucking pointless, because there's people in London not vaccinated. So why wouldn't I be able to get over there and, travel as a tourist unvaccinated if I wasn't vaccinated? But it's because they have this law now to where wherever you go, if you're not vaccinated, they will force you to quarantine for 14 days there. And then you can go out and do whatever it is you got to do, which I think is the biggest pile of shit. But this is how people are choosing to deal with this COVID thing. But we sat at this counter for 45 minutes to an hour trying to get registered online for this London thing, and damn near missed our flight. We were supposed to miss our flight, but by the time we got done with everything, and the dude walked us to the gate, walked us through the security checkpoint and everything like that, and then to run our visa so we can get out of the country. We got to the gate just to find out our flight was an hour late departuring anyway. So fortunately, we made that flight. Otherwise, we would have had to leave the next day and get to London just in the nick of time to make it to the football game that I was going to. So we get on our flight. It takes off. We made it. We get to London, and I fell asleep the whole time. It was an overnight flight. By the time we landed in London, it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon London time. So we get down there, and the very first thing I noticed once we get to the London airport is there's trains everywhere. So everything that you do and everywhere you go in London, they travel via train, Lyft, Uber. There's not too many people that drive in London. And if you do drive in London, they're driving like Range Rovers, Mercedes, Benz, Bentleys, Porsches, BMWs. There's no other car other than those in London. So majority of the people just travel via, like I said, Lyft, Uber, you take them big red buses that they have on like the Spice Girls and shit. But I was really hoping to run into a Spice Girl out there. But we decided to take the train. And for me, I'm not very familiar with the subway system. In Nashville, we don't have a subway system. You know, anybody, we can drive or we could take a Lyft or an Uber or anything like that. So I wasn't extremely familiar with how the train system worked. So it took us about another hour to 2 hours to get from the airport to where we were staying. Once we finally got to where we were staying, we stayed at the DoubleTree Hotel. It was super nice. Great place to stay. If you guys are ever thinking about traveling to London, I recommend the DoubleTree Hotel over by Tower Hill because it was comfortable. It was very nice people. The rooms were amazing. I had no complaints, but we got there a little early, so we couldn't check in. Decided to go and check out the breakfast joint. Now I had to get the what is it, the all English or big English breakfast or whatever it's called, but I had to check that out. Being in another country, you know, I like to try their food and the way they do things. And in London, they're real big on beans and what else was it? Mushrooms and stuff like that for like breakfast. So for their breakfast meals and their big breakfast things, they still do eggs, you know, scrambled, runny, poached, or however you like your eggs. But they also have like baked beans, like bush baked beans that we eat like at home, country style shit for breakfast. That was new to me. But they have that. And, of course, I had to get me a coffee and be all bougie with it because fuck it, I'm in London. You know, why not show out a little bit? So we did that after we got done eating, checked into our rooms and decided, you know what, let's go be some tourists. So I checked out a couple of the bridges and went on a walk to just pretty much look around London and see, you know, their countryside. And it was pretty cool, man. London's one of those places that's got a lot of cathedral-like places. You know, all the buildings were like big and, I don't want to say medieval, but I mean, it's just from the past, the older time English look. Everything was very English, kind of looking. And it was pretty dope though, because it's still modern. It's 2021 and things now are, you know, the rooms are nice. The cars outside are nice. Everything in there is nice, but they keep it looking like it is back in the old days. But, we got into our rooms. We went did a little couple of tourist things around London, and like I said, like they do drive on the other side of the road over there, so it was a little bit confusing the very first couple of days because when you cross the street, you know, in America we look left because cars are coming from, but actually it's is it right? Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on what side of the street you actually coming from, but it kept throwing me off because they drive on a different side of the road over there. So be careful or they will hit your ass, and it's weird because they won't stop. But I didn't get hit. Nobody I knew got hit. I just noticed that the brakes are not a thing over there. So get out the way and make sure you look at both ways when you cross the street in London. But that was day one. Landed there. Everything was dope. Now, I forgot to mention this, but getting off the plane in London, I was a little bit thrown off because here in Riyadh, it's, you know, 90 to 100 degrees outside. And I'm used to wearing, you know, a t-shirt, some shorts maybe, and if I wear pants, it's cool. But it's hot. It's warm over here. Hot enough to where I don't need no hoodie. I don't need no jacket or nothing like that. But once I got to London, it's 50, 35. You know, it's between 35, 50 degrees outside once you land. So I was out there freezing. Fortunately, I brought hoodies. I bought my jacket. You know, I stayed comfy, but like I said, it was just it was a shock that it was so fucking cold over there. And I wasn't aware. You know, I've never been in the UK or anywhere up in that region or in that area. So for me, it kind of threw me off a little bit. And it could be why I have the sniffles or whatever the fuck it is I got, but it ain't COVID. So we got the tourism out the way just for the first day. And, you know, we end up meeting some pretty cool people. Shout out to my boy Aaron. Aaron and his fiance stayed in the hotel we were staying in. And I met them during breakfast and we stayed and chopped it up with them for a little bit. But my boy Aaron, you know, me and him got to chop it up a little bit. And, you know, me and him have a lot of things in common. Not only do we have the same crazy hair that stood out, which made us even, you know, communicate in the first place. But Aaron likes to partake into the same extracurricular activities that I partake in. So, you know, we go outside, we're under a bridge chilling, you know, watching cars go by, watching people go by. And as we're chopping it up, I'm like, yo, bro, you know, what do you do, man? What's you know, let me learn a little bit about you. My name's Derek. I do this, I do that. I got a podcast. And he's telling me about what he does. And my man says, you know, I rap. And I was like, you rap? Oh, okay. Well, most people say they rap. You're like, all right, man, let me hear something. So Aaron's like, all right, I got you. Plays a beat. Now I'm expecting, the basics, you know what I'm saying? It's a young cat. Aaron's, I don't know how, I think he's like 20 maybe, young cat, but I'm expecting, just some bars, and I'm used to these Americanized bars, mind you, from Nashville. It's a country music capital, but people can make music down there. So I know good music when I hear it. Well, my dog Aaron starts rapping, and it blew my fucking mind how dope he is at rapping and the type of raps he does and what he was rapping about. So dope that I had to throw him on my Snapchat. So if you guys were interested in listening, hopefully Aaron, my dog, can send me a sample or something and I can post it on the show or something like that. But his music, bro, took me on a whole nother planet, bro, just because I wasn't expecting it. Like I said, I was expecting what I would get at home, but they have a different accent and a different flow in London, man. And dude took it, man. He had me on the side of the road, bouncing, man. I was out here, I was ready to perform myself, man. But I got online and I put him on my Snapchat. A couple people got to check him out. But I thought that was pretty dope to meet somebody like that, especially on the second day in London. So to have that connect was dope. So shout out to Aaron and his fiance again. I can't remember her name, but tell her I said, hey, what's up? But yeah, that was day 2. By day 3, day 3, 4, 5, whoop-de-whoop along the way, we finally make it to the football game. So the football game was in Tottenham Hill Stadium. Tottenham Stadium is where they do a majority of their soccer games in London. London's more of a soccer place, but they call football soccer there. So when we say football, we had to make sure we reiterated and say NFL football because that's what we were there to see. We're headed to the game, a day or two later. And when we're headed up there to the game, we wanted to be tourists again. So instead of us taking like a Lyft or train to get up there, we were like, you know what, man, let's take one of these big ass red buses because them big red buses are everywhere. You see them in movies. You see them in Austin Powers. Like I said, you see them in the Spice Girls movies. You see them in anything that's in relation to London. You know what I'm saying? It's very trademarked there. And we took the big red buses up there. And once we got to the stadium and everything, the stadium was packed. I did not expect to see as many people as I did see. When I bought the tickets, I bought them very early because I really wanted to get good tickets. I have a philosophy where the more money you spend, the more fun you're going to have. So I spent a pretty good penny on these tickets, and we were about 9 rows from the end zone. So anytime they score, anytime they celebrate, anytime they'd hit, anything, you hear everything. So it was extremely dope to be a part of that experience, especially an NFL experience, being me, such a big football fan, to be that close. And we took advantage of those seats. There was a lot of cool little things that they did within the stadium to make, get the crowd involved. I know a lot of people who were at the stadium, almost everybody that was there had a football jersey on. And I wasn't aware that, it was cool or it was a thing to wear your team's jersey out there, even though they weren't playing, because I saw all 32 teams' jerseys at this stadium. Every single team, multiple jerseys, because people are coming from all over the world to watch this game, or people are coming from all over the world to live in London. London is actually a very, very popular place, and I wasn't aware of this. I was only going for the game, but learning about the history and learning about the type of people that are there, London is a very popular place. If I had to rate London, London's probably my second favorite place on earth right now, behind Hawaii. So love home, love Tennessee, but I've been there my whole life, so I'm used to it. I'm acclimated there. But my second homes are now Hawaii and London, and I fucking love London. I love everything about London. But back to the game. So we're at the game. There's jerseys everywhere. I did not get to wear my Julio jersey because I wasn't aware that was the cool thing to do. I didn't want to be the dude showing up with the Julio Jones jersey and be the only one not wearing a Miami or Jacksonville jersey. But I definitely should have wore it because everybody around us had some sort of jersey on from every single team. There was one team that was skipped, and I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of reminded me of a Pro Bowl type environment, but it was just in a different country like London, and they had it packed to the rim. I got pictures and stuff online if you guys check out my Instagram page or my Facebook page. But if you're interested in seeing it on the Rolling Rock page, let me know, and I can throw a few pictures and a couple of things up from the game or just from any of the experiences that I had in London. But that was a really cool experience, was being able to see that. They had this thing where they would, there's a lot of beer that is being drank in London. If there's one thing they do in London a lot of, it's drinking. They drink a lot. So at the game, they would give you little clear cups, and the little clear cups would mean, sit it down and it fills from the bottom up, just like it does at the stadiums, any other football stadium you go to. So with these cups, people decided, let's stack them up as high as you can go. Well, these motherfuckers stacked these cups up in different areas of the arena so high that it could reach the next column, and people were stacking their cups up from the rows way above. And I thought that was pretty cool, man. They had us on the Titantron. The players were looking and pointing. The coaches were looking. I just thought that was super dope how they did that. And the stands were extremely involved in the game. You know, they're cheering, they're rooting, they're screaming, they're doing everything like they would at home. So I felt very comfortable being there, man. And a lot of the people, like I mentioned earlier, I think I mentioned this earlier, a lot of the people in London literally look just like us in America. The only difference is their accents. You know, they say mate a lot. Oi, mate. Mate. They talk like Harry Potter. I felt like I was in a live Harry Potter movie the whole time I was down there. And my country ass accent was like literally lighting the skies up out there. I think I'm somewhat of a local legend now after spending 5 days in London. I was only supposed to spend 3 days, but we'll talk about the rest of that later. But yeah, after leaving the football stadium and everything, you know, we get back and at nighttime in London, I'm sure a lot of people will have questions. What is there to do? London has one of the biggest nightlifes that I've seen in any of the places that I've ever been to. And I'm talking, I've been all over the world, from Philippines to Thailand, Korea, to Hawaii, America, Saudi. London has some of the best nightclubs I've ever been to in my life. And it starts off kind of slow though, you know. I don't know what it is about them, but they don't show up to like the nightclubs and stuff until like mad late, like 12, 1 o'clock, because they don't close until later. There's bars that stay open till like 5, 6. So I didn't know anyone in London, and one of the best things to do when you're there is to get a group of people that you never met before, and y'all do what's called a pub crawl. So London has this London pub crawl. Shout out to my girl Katie. Katie, thank you for the hospitality at the London pub crawl, because for 5 days straight, Katie got our business, and we were there every single day because the pub crawls were that successful. They were that dope. It was extremely fun. It was comfortable. There was people everywhere. But let me break down what the pub crawls are. So the pub crawls are a bunch of people, strangers, mind you, or people that may even know each other. They meet up at this one bar in particular. You go from that bar to another bar, from that bar to another bar, and you crawl, quote unquote, pub crawl. But you just go from different bars with the same group of people you started with. And along the way, you'll notice that people start to tag along. So you go from maybe 10, 12 people, 20 people to about 30 to 50 people in one group traveling from bar to bar. Super, super, super dope. But it's a little bit more comfortable to do it that way, because if it's just, the two of you, if me and my homeboy went out by ourselves, I'm sure we'd still have a good time, but it's more comfortable and it's more fun to go out with a group of random people you never met before, because at bar number one, you introduce yourself, get a couple of drinks. Hey, how you doing? Where you from? What do you do? I'm here, whoop-de-whoop, we're in a foreign country, let's have fun. By bar 2, you guys are starting to drink a little bit more. You guys are starting to dance. By bar 3, that's your best friend in the whole wide world. And you will let nothing happen to them. And there's 7 bars you go to. So throughout the night, you're not paying to enter any of the bars. All your drinks are discounted. It sounds like Christmas, but I highly recommend going to pub crawls any chance anybody gets to go to anything like this, or to travel and go to different countries, because it was a whole lot of fun, and you get to meet a lot of tourists and a lot of people that you probably never talked to if you never met them at a pub crawl. It's extremely comfortable. But we did that for 3 days straight. The environment was good. The music is good. The music is great. They play the same music we play in America. Mind you, they look just like us. Literally, from my hair, our hair, to our dress code, our swag, everything. It looks like home, but it sounds like a Harry Potter movie. And it was just, to me, just so dope. And I couldn't break that. But we made sure we did that every single night. And it was a way for us to save money, still have fun, get the full experience, check out the nightlife, mix and mingle, meet some people. And I was actually able to get out there and market the podcast. So shout out to my new followers out there who I met in London. Thank you guys. I think about y'all daily. A lot of y'all still have me on Snapchat or Instagram. Give the page a shout out. And if you haven't yet, get on YouTube. Find me by typing in Rolling with Rock Podcast. Make sure you share and follow. But for everybody else out there who's listening, you probably already follow the show, which is how you listen to it in the first place. But it was just a super dope and a super cool environment to be in out there in London. Like I said, I didn't go out there for that, but to know that that was there, and it turned out to be a lifesaver, because like I said, it's London. It's a very historical place, but the nightlife just took it over the top, especially with the amount of people to show up. Extremely beautiful people from all over the world. I didn't just meet people from London. There was people from Romania, there's people from Germany, there's people from Berlin, there was people from Texas, there's motherfuckers from all over the world that were there, and a few people from Saudi that we met. So it was really cool to be able to get in there and see a whole bunch of different faces, hear a bunch of different accents, listening to people listening to our accent and what they think about how we sound. It's different, and it was extremely cool. But the party people made it one of the best trips I ever had. So again, man, shout out to y'all. Now, the tourism in London, a lot of the tourism that we did was something that I highly recommend you guys do this too. I'm not sure if you guys are real big on like museums or like art museums, or even just like we went, for example, to the British Museum. Now in the British museums, they have everything from Greek mythology, ancient Roman times, there's mummies, there's a history of North America, South American history, Asian, Russian, everything you can think of with artifacts. The British Museum has access to it. Now, I'm not sure the history or the story of how they got all this stuff, but that was one of the biggest and probably the best museum I've ever been to. It was about 4 stories high, and every single room was a different era. Every single room was a different thing to see. From history, and being a history buff and somewhat slicker, kind of like a little nerd when it comes to this kind of stuff, I enjoyed the museum a lot. You know, I was able to, we spent probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours in the museum, just walking around, trying to just, see some new things. If you're going to be in a country like that, I think that it's extremely important to acclimate yourself to the culture, and the history of that place. We checked out that, went and looked at the Big Ben. Not Ben Roethlisberger, but Big Ben the clock. I had to see that one time for the one time. Crossed over the London Bridge, and no, it did not fall down like the song says back when we were kids. London Bridge is falling down. But we were able to check out like the little oceanfront district area right on the water. So they have a bunch of boats. There's a little river that runs through London, and they have like tons of different boats and yachts, and they have an Uber boat ride to get you from one side to the other. If you didn't want to take a cab or taxis or Lyft or Uber or the buses or trains, there's tons of transportation out there. But we did a whole lot of walking because I wanted to go sightseeing. But we stayed over near Tower Hill, and over near Tower Hill, there's this really ginormous bridge. I think it's called Tower Bridge or something like that. I can't think of the name of it. But over in that area too, it's just a whole bunch of beautiful things to see. A bunch of castles, a bunch of the cathedrals, a bunch of palaces and different stuff like that. But it was extremely dope to be able to get out into the city of London and just look around and see different stuff. We met a lot of people. We met a lot of people who were very interested in, where we're from, and met somebody or a couple people who were they're very big fans of Taylor Swift out there. I believe she probably lives out there now, if I'm not mistaken. But they were asking, like, where you from? I was like, oh, I'm from Nashville. Like, oh my God, you're from Nashville? You must know Taylor Swift. I don't know why they think everybody from Nashville know Taylor Swift, but it was their lucky day because I just so happened to have met Taylor Swift when we were like 15 years old. I met her before the fame and everything, but I didn't, get a chance to talk to them and tell them like, hey, I don't know her that well, but thanks. Hey, cool. Taylor Swift, shout out to you for making me somewhat of a legend because we're from the same city. And I met your biggest fans in London. So they definitely are huge Taylor Swift fans out there. Who else is out there? Tina Turner. Tina Turner's out there. She's got a whole damn show going on right now where she's doing like I don't know if she's doing a live show or if they're doing a musical representing her or telling her story, her bio or whatever. But they love her out there. There's a whole bunch of different things going on out there, like art shows and what are they, like the stage acting. I was a little sauced up one night and got drunk and walked into a theater and asked them if I could audition for Romeo and Juliet. Now, of course, they said no, but that's the type of stuff that they have out there. They have the opportunity for people to go see plays. You can go do a whole lot of stuff out there, man. It was, like I said, one of the best experiences that I've definitely probably ever had in my life. And as we're walking and traveling, you know, I had to try a lot of the local foods. One of the big things out there that I had to try was fish and chips. Now, back at home, fish and chips is just, you know, fried fish and maybe a bag of chips, get some Lay's or some whatever. Fish and chips in London is literally just fish and fries. But these ain't just no ordinary fries. Let me straighten up when I tell you this. These is not no ordinary fries. These fries are doused with whatever red wine vinegar they got, drizzled with the finest salts that come from either the Himalayas or from God himself, because these were some of the best French fries I have ever had in my life. Now, the fish could have definitely used some TLC because it was a little dry. But again, it's probably sitting in the window of this little food truck wherever I got it from for a hot minute. But I still think they should have threw some sauce or something on that fish because the fish wasn't that great. But the fries were some of the best. Actually, they were the best fries I ever had. Could it have been that I was drunk? Maybe. But they were still the best fries I've ever had. And now anytime I eat or make fries, I'm going to definitely throw some vinegar and salt on them shits. I like the salt and vinegar chips with Lay's anyway. So I don't even know why I ain't never thought to put vinegar on the fries. But that's definitely the move if you guys are looking forward to that. But as far as being a tourist in London, the shops, man, they got some amazing malls. Of course, I had to hit, you know, H&M up. I had to hit up a few spots and get some London memorabilia. We was able to check out a few of these Harry Potter stops. Harry Potter's really big there. They sell wands everywhere. You can drink publicly. A lot of people smoke publicly. They don't really bother you when you smoke out there. As long as you ain't sitting out there, you know, blowing smoke in people's faces. And when I say smoke, I mean smoky smoke. So it's a pretty chill spot, man. Like I said, the environment was super good. The company was super good. Every person that I met was super hospitable. They were willing to help you with directions, help me with the train, because that train was a fucking nightmare. As dope as it was to say, you know, I rode a train in London and, I was in a subway or whatever, just because I didn't grow up with one, was pretty dope. But it gotta admit, it was a fucking nightmare. So bad that whenever it was time for us to leave London, we took the train to get back. Well, it took us a little bit longer to get to the airport than we expected. So we got to the airport with about an hour, maybe 45 minutes to an hour before flight takes off. That's not enough time in the second busiest airport in the world. So in this floating rock, in this atmosphere of whatever the fuck universe we're in, London is the second busiest airport on the planet. I wasn't aware of that. So we definitely should have got to the airport 3 hours earlier, because as we were waiting, I got up to the back counter and they was like, "Sir, you're not going to make this flight." We ended up having to stay in London for 2 more days because they told us, "Hey, your flight's canceled. The soonest we can get you guys onto the next flight out to Saudi Arabia is going to be in 2 days." So I didn't really have much to do. I checked in with my boss. I checked in with, work and make sure everything was good. Me and the homie was like, "Yo, we don't really have a choice but to stay here." So we ended up staying in London for 2 more days, which means 2 more bar crawls, which means 2 more days to be tourist and visit around. I'm probably going to be on a coin in London one of these days, or on a billboard or something, because, man, we made a legacy out there. It was the most fun I've ever had on a vacation by myself in my life. And anybody who was ever considering it, thinking it, always wanted to do it, I highly encourage you to go out there and check out London. London was one of those places where any type of person can have fun. Even if you don't drink, you're going to have a time of your life. Even if you don't smoke, you're going to have a time of your life. You don't even like museums, artifacts, Buckingham Palace. Again, shout out to Princess Diana. Any of those, man, rest in peace. Any of those things, you're going to have a great time in London. And I wouldn't mind going back there 100%. That's something that I would definitely mark on my list to go back and check out. But the football game was amazing. The alcohol, the drinks, the friends, the parties, those were amazing. All the people that I met, shout out to y'all again. Y'all were amazing, and y'all made the trip amazing. I mean, it was pretty fun, and God must have been on my side for me to miss that flight. Shout out to the train station or the subway station for making me miss that. But it's something that I would definitely encourage, and I would say you guys should definitely check out. But Yeah, that was my trip to London. So hopefully I ain't leave anything out, man. But I just want to thank you guys for rolling through this episode with me, and make sure you guys check me out. Now on YouTube, you're able to type in Rolling with Rock. At first, you had to type in Rock Harris. Now I edited, fixed some things up, and you're able to type in Rolling with Rock podcast in YouTube to check out the videos. So if you're listening to this on any platform and you want to check the video out, make sure you go to YouTube again and type in Rolling with Rock podcast, and it should pop up. And I want to thank you guys again for listening. And I know last episode I introduced you guys to my boy Brandon. We're still working on product. We're still working on shirts. We're still working on hats. If you guys are interested in getting any of those products, let me know. Leave a comment. And for the followers I have and the new or old followers, please help me by sharing, liking, and subscribing to the page on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, any of the platforms that you guys listen to me on. Make sure you guys go through and subscribe, leave reviews, or do whatever you can, because that helps me out and it helps me with the brand. So again, man, thanks for rolling with your boy Rock, and I hope y'all have a blessed day. Peace.